All right, so in the season of altcoins, and especially on today, when you look at what's happening in the cryptocurrency market, carbon neutrality is a topic that, of course, kind of, I feel like, set this whole thing off. And today we're going to dive into that a little deeper. My name is Paul Barron. This is TechPath. Thanks for joining us again. As a reminder, you subscribe right now, hit the bell, and make sure and tell your friends about the show. We try to have some of what I think are the top cryptocurrency and technologist minds in the world on this show, and today is no different. I've got with me and joining me is, of course, Sean over at Algorand and Francisco over at a company that I think is kind of interesting when you look at what you guys are doing at ClimateTrade. So both of you, welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks, Paul, for having us.
Excellent. All right, so let's jump into, first of all, the reason that we got both of you on the interview is kind of the relationship with what Algorand is doing in terms of your project, Sean, and the alignment that you guys have in terms of your initiative, Francisco, over at ClimateTrade. Talk to me a little bit about, maybe you can lead off, Sean, and tell me a little bit about why the relationship and a little bit how you guys are working together.
Sure. So Algorand, from the very beginning, as part of the design that Silvio Micali, our founder, conceived of, was to really try to design a technical solution that was sustainable and energy efficient with an environmental impact from the beginning. And so our commitment was always to reduce participation barriers by not having people have to create large sort of mining farms to be able to participate in our ecosystem. But it was also, we thought, the responsible thing to do for what we see as next generation technology, to take a stand at the very beginning and create a green or ultimately a carbon negative infrastructure. And something Silvio took very seriously, and I think everyone at Algorand does, and we could talk more about how that is. But then bringing it around, and I'll let Fran speak for ClimateTrade, but we started to then find other people who were like-minded that wanted to be a part of that type of ecosystem where Algorand's technology could really help accelerate the development of both positive contributions to the environment, but also the business objectives and goals of really innovative companies like ClimateTrade. And it was a match made in heaven, I think, from the beginning. I won't speak for Fran, but that's our interpretation of it.
Perfect. Sure. So Francisco, let's kind of jump to ClimateTrade. You guys seem to be very busy right now in the space. Talk to me about what your solution is doing for cryptocurrency, kind of how you guys get into the game here.
Well, okay. Well, we were very early on the space back in 2017, whenever climate still was not super hot like it is now, obviously. So we developed technology to customize. Our API can integrate in any system, any app, any website. So you can buy offset, you can offset any product, commercial transaction, any service. And blockchain also, we could integrate our technology on that, and together with Algorand, they make very easy to collaborate with them. They are our partners. And obviously we can only partner with the less polluting blockchain worldwide. And that was Algorand. It was a very professional team. I've been working at a big corporation pretty much all my life, and all my working life. So I had like a mirror in Algorand. So we worked very well from the beginning, and we thought that we should go for doing the less polluting and carbon negative blockchain, obviously. So we integrated our technology with them, and we use as a base blockchain in our marketplace.
Right. I was looking at a little bit about your company, 300 registered companies, currently over 2,000 end users. Talk to me about the growth in where you might see it going in terms of some of the projects, especially around blockchain, like what Sean and the team over at Algorand are doing to really kind of get to carbon neutrality. Do you see a larger opportunity here, or is this something that you think is a long ways off before we see a lot more participation?
I see now a big shift And I think that after all what happened during these weeks, everyone is looking at the space. Everyone is looking to make the blockchains more efficient, and at the very end, less contaminant, no less polluting. And obviously, first thing is to offset. You need to make it more efficient, but it's not right away. You need to have a project. You have to bring it up, but if you have something that is polluting, first thing you need to cut it off. No, so first let's compensate. The thing you have to think about is that, for example, we only work with projects that generate impact. You cannot compensate with anything. You know what I mean? You need to. We've been working with some of the biggest developers, medium-sized developers worldwide. So we know pretty much all the developers around the world, and many of the big ones work with us. And basically, what we know is that where the money goes. The blockchain in our space, in our company, is used to trace and to provide transparency where the funds go. And so we want to make an impact because this is about generating impact at the very end.
Sean, I want to jump to you. Okay, so you guys were, when Elon Musk, of course, everybody knows, if you haven't been under a rock, the scenario of Elon saying, listen, we need something a little bit more carbon neutral, definitely less environmental or more environmentally friendly, less harmful to the environment. Algorand seemed to be in a very unique position. Obviously, you guys have been moving in this direction for quite some time. I just want to read from a tweet. It said, we're proud at Algorand that Algorand is carbon negative and offsets our very small environmental impact with wind, reforestation, peatland sustainability projects around the globe. I like this, Sean. I mean, I guess that came from your PR team, but I'm curious, when you look at kind of the strategies for you at Algorand, how far do you feel like you guys can take this in terms of carbon neutrality? Is this something, especially if Algorand becomes a highly adopted project around the globe, what does that do to your project in terms of scalability?
So I would say two parts to this. I think the first is that if you look, I mean, by design, if you just think in terms of kilowatt hours per transaction, right? If you think about it that way, Bitcoin operates, based on some of the calculations that we've done at about 930, kWh per transaction, which is fairly significant. Ethereum 70-ish, and Algorand 0.000008. And by the way, that's for final transactions, not just energy deployed towards propagating blocks.
Right.
So we started from a place of, I think, incredible strength because we built the technology from the beginning with an idea that it should be an environmental positive rather than created to deploy, in the words of one of my colleagues, who I will steal this phrase from, initiate a planetary computational battle, one versus the other, to validate a block. And that is what we see in proof of work systems. And since Algorand is a pure proof of stake, we started with a place that had us at a very sort of environmentally friendly and very close to carbon neutral footprint from the beginning. But if you look forward, the reason we chose carbon negative as an idea and executed it was because we're a growing network. I mean, we have over 4,000 validators. We've got over 11 million users. I mean, we're seeing great adoption and expansion already. And the idea is, why should we always be behind where the world is? Why wouldn't we invest in front of where we expect we're going to end up, which is continuing to expand and continuing to scale? So we're over investing to maintain that carbon negative footprint. Your last part of your question, I think, was just around, like, how does that affect our scalability? To be honest with you, we've had a lot of internal conversations about, could we run Algorand purely as a global network on solar power? Is it something we could essentially hit a reset and say, let's, from a power perspective, and could we run it as a renewable blockchain from the start? And that is something that I think is very doable, and something that I think we, will start to make some strides against going forward. So all of that is to say, I think the move to this sort of, accelerated environmental, carbon negativity is actually only going to help our scalability. It doesn't affect our tech at all. And I think it puts us in a place that all tech projects should be that are new, and that is being a positive contributor rather than a detractor.
Yeah, for sure. Francisco, when you look at the kind of the landscape of, let's stay in the blockchain space for now. I know you guys do some other things, but when you look at blockchain, there's a lot of projects now that are trying to go over to, or at least move to proof of stake approaches. Do you feel like this is something that you're going to see quick acceleration on? Are you guys out there trying to assist or help in terms of helping the transition of some of these projects?
We are helping now, and especially as you said before, if there was a lot of interest from other companies, and for sure it increased a lot since, especially since last 2 weeks, no? So it is happening, a big increase in our help to companies that need assistance on this area. Basically, what I see and we are thinking, no, the innovations have to, it comes first, but then it is that breakthrough. It is adapted and it is improved by others, and that's why proof of stake, obviously, and in the Silvius Micali idea from the beginning, in my opinion, we have to move to efficient and the new progress of that disruption that was Bitcoin at the beginning, no? And I think totally aligned. I'm totally aligned that proof of stake is the future, and obviously we have to move towards that. But in the middle, this is like any other company that pollutes a lot and cannot change their technology from one day to another. It takes time. So it's like airlines. Right. You say, hey, airlines are a very big, high pollutant sector. Yeah, but you cannot change all the planes from today to tomorrow. There are not planes of hydrogen. There are not planes of electric planes. So it will take until 2035. And we do. They need to compensate. So that's the same story for blockchain.
Sean, you know, when you guys really, I mean, it seems like you had a bit of a crystal ball in play here for Algorand, and you look at other projects that are out there coming to market this year. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in market or in projects, but we're also seeing several projects that are moving to the proof of stake model. How hard is this for a team to shift like this? Could this be something that we could see, in an industry-wide potential evolution outside of the traditional, proof of work models that are out there like Bitcoin? Is it a tough move to do this? Do you think this has to kind of be built into your DNA from the beginning?
Well, I think it's certainly easier if you design for sustainability like we did from the start. I mean, you can go back to 2018, ironically, where Silvio was talking about this as one of our primary goals. So it's nice to have been here before Elon Musk's statements, so that we were sort of a few years ahead of that. But what I would say is that it is always harder to change your business model in flight. I do think that again, the hats off to the early versions of blockchain technology, because obviously without those pioneers, we wouldn't be here. But I do think that I would say going forward, there should be no compromise with new technology as making a trade-off to whether it is making money or raising money versus whether it is positive for the environment. I think that should be a responsibility of not just blockchain technology, but all technology. And the last thing I'll say on that, Paul, and we talked about it the last time, was we spoke was, technology needs to lead tactics, not trail tactics in business. And once technology reaches a point where it is capable to accelerate positive outcomes on the tactical side, that's when everyone starts lining up. And I think from an energy and a sustainability perspective, Algorand is certainly there. I hope new blockchains that come out take up that same mantle and help lead the tactics of major corporations, along with people like ClimateTrade, who are really making it so easy and removing the barriers for people to generate carbon offsets. It's just no excuse anymore, in my opinion.
Right. Francisco, you guys have a lot of different projects. I looked into some of the projects you're doing, everything from hydropower, wind power, you name it. You guys have started to back a lot of these kinds of programs. How does the carbon offsetting process work? If it is a project that is moving in this direction, how do you guys actually plug into it? How does the API connect? And what do I get in terms of a result?
Okay. The carbon markets they were born in 1997, so this is long time ago. But after Paris Agreement, they came up again, no? So in terms of projects, there are like you said, hydro, solar, wind, nature-based solutions, especially is what normally the companies are looking for in terms of reforestation, afforestation, all these type of things. So it has a process of certifying that project by some companies, some certification firms that are like the most reputed or that are in a list of our reputed companies, and then it goes to verification to one standard. That standard can be private, can be UN, can be private as BERA gold standard, or at the very end also can be governments, because the governments, they are sovereign. So there are governments with their own national schemes, like Colombia, like Spain, like you have in California your own scheme. So it depends on that, but basically you have to have a formal process of certification and verification, because if not, at the very end, everyone could do whatever they want, you know. And
Right.
you need to buy something that is has some at least some guides and some formalities. If not, everyone could register themselves. Now there are some registries that set up where all that's established now. So, and then we connect that to our marketplace. We list the projects, and then the API it was the first carbon API in 2018. So our API allows to cut in kilos even, because you can make transactions to buy the ticket of the bus, ticket of the train, plane ticket, and maybe it's not even a ton. So normally the carbon markets were in a ton basis. We reduce that and we can sell in kilos. So you can put in kilos and you can make million transactions for every product, service, or every commercial transaction that you do. And then we certify it in blockchain.
Yeah, so explain to me a couple of things. One, you have a guarantee of origin, and then you have the carbon offsetting model. What is the difference between those? Are they different applications for projects?
Basically, the guarantees of origin, as you know, is only coming from renewables. Okay, so it is like, imagine that you have a company and you want renewable power, but that renewable power, there is no company, no utility close to you that can sell it to you. So you say, but I want my power to be green. So you buy guarantees of origin and you put them on top of your energy. And at some point, every energy goes to a pool. So it is a mix there. You are not receiving by your plug, you are not receiving the green energy, but it is in a pool that you bought from, that there is green energy. You are providing that green energy to that pool, no? So that's the guarantee of origin. Offsets are not only from renewables, and basically now we are in a move of taking off offsets from renewables. We are moving to another only, let's say, projects that generate nature-based solutions, reforestations, other type of things that generate more direct capture, you know, not because, when you put a renewable project, it is more avoidance of other type of energies, fossil fuels energy generation, but you want direct capture, like landfills, like reforestation, or basically like afforestation, avoiding deforestation, and carbon capturing with new technologies also is great.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Sean, when you look, so this obviously this last couple of weeks, massive moves in the market we're seeing just over the past 48 hours. When you look at the impact on cryptocurrency and in general the blockchain industry, but if you look at some of the outer layers that are starting to affect what could happen in this space, and that meaning mostly governmental subsidies and programs, do you feel like this could be something that, especially with Biden's plan to really go into sustainable energy and going in this direction, how could that affect companies and projects like what Algorand is doing? Are there some opportunities here for the cryptocurrency space?
Yes, I think so. I mean, let's just look at, let's just step way back from the sort of statements that Elon Musk made, and really look at what he, in my opinion, is doing, and that is he has the ability to hold accountable technologies that are either more or less environmentally friendly. And I think that in our case, because we started with this philosophy, I think we wholeheartedly embrace it. And I feel like we're in a position where here's the thing, I don't think Algorand's done enough yet. I think there's more we could do, and I would say we are well in the forefront of making a firm commitment to carbon negativity. But I think that we have just tried to run our business in a way that is sustainable, not just from a value creation perspective in the economy, but from an environmental perspective. So in terms of new regulations or initiatives to help improve the environment around the world, and as a global network, we have the ability to maybe reach beyond borders to have that happen. And I think that it's something that I think the right companies with the right philosophies are going to embrace the types of things that not just the Biden administration, but any administration is talking about in terms of environmental protections. And I think the fallacy that you need to sacrifice value creation and profit and real solid business decision making if you go environmentally friendly is a fallacy.
Right.
It is a false conflict. And it's an old, easy thing for people that maybe are resistant to change can fall back and rely on as a crutch. And I don't see that being the case with things with technology like Algorand or obviously like ClimateTrade.
Okay, so there's a handful of projects that could finally fall into this basket in terms of either one, carbon neutral or carbon negative, much like what you guys are, that could kind of lead the charge here. Especially, it seems like timing is really critical here right now, because you've got a lot of government agencies and entire countries, nation states that are making really big decisions right now on digital currencies and also just blockchain technology in general as it affects all of society. We're going to see it in so many different things. This could be just the right timing for a very handful of companies that are in that bird seat right now. Francisco, when you look at that and the opportunity, do you feel like with carbon trade or with what you guys are, ClimateTrade, do you feel like this is something that you guys would make available to consumers, so where they could kind of track what's happening from a carbon neutrality or carbon negative standpoint for all these different kind of projects?
It is happening now. It is happening. Like climate investments, especially in Europe and now in the United States with the new administration, is going super fast, because you guys, in US, you go faster, obviously. So this is happening, no? And there is a big tsunami on climate that is this is just starting. This is gonna be the biggest, the next 30 years, the biggest business and opportunity, and a business opportunity that will save us, no? So it's what we have to think about. In terms of citizens, our solution already goes to citizens indirectly through the corporates. It's a B2B2C solution. So whenever the companies, the corporates integrate in their systems, they can offer their products and services carbon neutral. But at the very end, also, you need to obviously have solutions B2C. And there are some solutions B2C around. We are focused on the B2B, but obviously we were very early to 2017. We had an initiative called Climate Coin that was an initiative trying to do that B2C for climate and offsetting. It was too early. But we are thinking again on this. Now is the right moment. So with our partners, obviously, we are working on that.
Yeah, well, because right now, if you're an investor and you're looking at companies and or technologies that are moving in this direction, you kind of have to wait for either quarterly reports or annual reports to really get their carbon footprint report.
It's mandatory.
Exactly. So it's a ways off. And then at the time that you do get it, I mean, like Amazon, for instance, has a problem with actually revealing their report. So even though they're getting some pressure, but we're seeing more and more of that now that consumers, and I say just in general, retail investors, and anybody who's looking at companies, even if it's a scenario of I want to frequent a specific company because they have a better carbon footprint. I think just the scenario of a consumer or a retail investor, they're going to want to know these things much earlier. So I think that's going to be a big play for sure. I like that.
Yeah, what happened, for example, in Europe, sorry, Son, that I take this one. In Europe, what is happening is that already the non-financial reporting is mandatory in the European Union. And also there is a new regulation that whenever you go to invest in an investment fund, they have to ask you if you want your fund to be sustainable or not. What are we going to say? Same price, I want it sustainable, no? Let's say 95% of the occasions. So what is happening now is that all companies are going to run towards sustainability, because if not, the asset managers that has a rating of that companies, if that rating is a bad rating, they won't include that companies in their folders, in the investment funds. So what is going to happen is that the shares would go down. So they are going to run towards sustainability, and you have to do it for real, because the investors every time will have more information, and you cannot fake this and make greenwashing anymore, you know. So consumers are going to have more info, especially youth, and investors, they are going to get more radical. It's going to arrive to the point that ESG and SDGs are going to be most important than the results itself.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
well
for
said.
sure. Sean, I want to go with you on one last, and that is kind of the if you look at the blockchain community and some of the projects that are moving, there's a lot of individual leaders out there. You know, you look like, I mean, if you look at Silvio and his compatriots out there that are kind of leading these projects, if you look at kind of the framework of where the industry has been propelled in the last 2 weeks, do you think there's a mindset change happening right now in blockchain today?
I think that first of all, there should be, and I think that there certainly is the opportunity now for anyone who wants to start to do so, and do so quickly. And the reason I say that is that I really liked Fran's comment at the beginning about the airlines. No one says that this has to be an instantaneous
Sure.
transformation, but it should be that everyone is pulling their weight and we're in the boat rowing in the same direction, because there is a greater good. And if you take a long-term view of value creation and environmental impact, everyone can make contributions to it. And I think the technology that ClimateTrade has and the technology that Algorand has offers that opportunity. So do I see this as a cataclysmic sort of seismic moment? No. Do I see it as one of many opportunities that we as leaders in tech are presented with to do something that is both valuable and right? And I would say yes. And so from my perspective, this is going to be a journey, but one that I think these moments hopefully help accelerate and provide everyone with a chance to start.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to ask each of you kind of the last question here in terms of any kind of specific either partnerships or trends that you guys are currently tracking that you want to look at in the marketplace. For you, Francisco, when you look at the global trends around the countries, obviously the United States is moving quickly against it. You've got some other countries who have really kind of embraced green energy. Is there any particular part of the world that you feel is a little bit more focused on this right now?
Well, you know, the Nordic countries has been always, they changed their mindset is totally, like most of the populations are towards sustainability and radically. Germany is very advanced on that. France also, it was a country that the companies were, remember in 2017 in a speech in United Nations, there were companies in France that they were putting their balance sheet already 2 times the price of carbon for their emissions. So, but I think that United States now, you are going to go fast on that. We need to take a look like that to China and to India, because they have more difficulties to shift towards that. And they already said China 2060, they are going to arrive in 2060. We don't have that much time. We should be carbon into 2030 if we can, because this is, you know, the climate change is happening fast, and we need to move fast also. So, but that's the countries I think that are more advanced on that. And obviously the European Union with the new Green Deal, and now with the Biden administration, this is going to put a lot of effort there, and it's going to push it forward.
Yeah. Sean, when you look at your solution from a blockchain standpoint, is there any particular industry that you or Algorand could focus on that could help? Maybe them help kind of get to that point of where carbon neutrality, or, you know, getting into a better position from a carbon footprint standpoint of where you guys could focus, whether it's fintech. I mean, we've seen all kinds of data around banking that needs to move in this direction, obviously transportation, all those kind of things. Where are you guys focused in terms of kind of the bigger picture?
Yeah, thank you. So I think it's really, well, certainly we've positioned ourselves very closely in sort of fintech and around the space of, stable coins and security tokens and NFTs and really providing a place where um, value can be exchanged sort of frictionlessly. And,
Right.
it's code for both, frictionless in terms of barriers to entry, but it's also frictionless in terms of the amount of energy required. And so absolutely, working with central banks, governments, large traditional financial payment companies, there is an immeasurable amount of room to make a pretty seismic impact on the carbon footprint by adopting technology like Algorand and removing a lot of the friction that you see in the energy consumption you see in the current financial ecosystem around the world. And so, yes, that's where we are focused for sure. And one other thing I would say on that, Paul, is that one of the great parts about building an ecosystem on top of a technology like Algorand is you get to work with partners like ClimateTrade, but you also are able to put together opportunities that maybe wouldn't have existed before and really expand the
Mhm.
reach of the technology into combinations of companies that are in the space now that might find ways to collaborate and work together. I know Fran and myself and some others, we've been talking to some of those companies about creating additional partnerships beyond the original business model. And they have a couple
Yep.
that I'm excited to talk about, but I can't right now, have a massive potential impact with a lot of traditional tech companies out there that have access to a lot of data on things like air
Right.
quality. Um,
Correct.
so it's an exciting time to see the individual businesses and the combinations that we're starting to put together on Algorand, and that I think we'll see more of in the future.
Very cool stuff. All right. Listen, it's been great having both of you on. Francisco, good luck to what you guys are doing over there. I think you're onto something. Obviously, this is a huge shift in society and around business and technology, especially as we
Yep.
advance in that, for sure. And Sean, always great to have you on the show. I love to always
Thank
learn
you.
more about Algorand,
Thank
and
you
I
so much,
continue
Paul.
to see it. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Paul. Bye,
Take
Fran.
care.
All right, so you guys are tuning in. You guys are tuning in over on the podcast right now. Make sure and leave us a rating. Also subscribe. And of course, if you have an idea for a show or someone you'd like to see here on TechPath, just send us a note to producer@revernetworks.com. Of course, you can always hit me up on Twitter, which is just @PaulBaron. You can also hit the show up as well, which is just @TechPath TV. And if you are on YouTube, make sure and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notifications and all this good stuff. And we love to hear from you guys, so hit it in the comments. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.